With compulsory vaccinations, medical fascism is exactly what's going on in California right now. A lot of people have sent me this video where RFK Jr. succinctly and spontaneously exposes the criminality of the medical police state outside of Governor Gavin Newsom's office. And a medical police state is exactly what it is, because it seeks to impose mandatory injections of vaccines on people who don't want it. Following immediately after the California Senate passed SB 276 in Sacramento, which effectively removes medical exemptions in the state, even for those with previous life-threatening reactions to vaccines, a protest erupted at the state capitol in front of Newsom's office, who would end up signing the bill later that day anyway. Earlier, 5 protesters were arrested for exercising their First Amendment right of peaceful protest. A painful irony considering that the removal of religious exemptions also violates First Amendment rights, which is why they were protesting in the first place. Here's the video, and I'll leave the link to the entire transcript and the entire video in the description below. At the end of the video, leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section.
It's a sad day for our country. Yes. And I have to ask a question, and I'd like to ask of these legislators who voted for this god-awful bill. If we can give government and big industries the right to inject untested medical products that are zero liability into our children coercively, where does the power of government end? What else can they order us to do?
Everything.
Can they do the same thing that they do in China, which is to tell people that they have to abort their babies for the good of society?
Right.
Can they euthanize people for the good of society? Where is the legal boundary? Where is the rational boundary if we can give government this right, which we have signed treaty after treaty after treaty, saying you cannot force an American citizen or any citizen of the civilized world to take a medication or to submit themselves to a medical procedure without informed consent.
That's right.
What has happened to the Democratic Party? What has happened to the party that used to stand for listening to women? Why are they listening to pharmaceutical companies and not for the women?
I'll try not to break in again, but this is an interesting point. Isn't it amazing that in every other thing, Democrats are pedal to the metal, pro-choice and my body, my choice, where they say it's okay for a mother to carry her baby to term and kill it in the womb, but when it comes to people rejecting mandatory vaccines from Big Pharma, these same Democrats conveniently look the other way. And not only do they look the other way, they demand that you take Big Pharma's poison. Could it be because the baby killing industry uses and makes money off the cells of those aborted Americans who've been slaughtered in the womb because drug companies use these aborted baby cells as one of the vital ingredients in pharmaceutical vaccinations? Could it actually be that those who call for the choice of the individual really don't care about the welfare of that individual at all, but rather on controlling the masses to the point of determining whether they live or die?
The past 2 years, the Democrats have been telling us, well, we are the party that stands up against the bullies and listens to women when they've been bullied. And yet, you have all of the members who voted for this, and none of them can answer the question. Where is all the autoimmune diseases coming from? If it's not the vaccines, and where is it coming from? We have, when my generation, according to HHS, 12% of the people in my generation prior to 1986 had chronic diseases. Today, 54% did. Well, let's pretend all those hundreds and hundreds of studies aren't there that say it's the vaccines. Let's pretend that all the vaccine, every one of those diseases, the autoimmune diseases, Guillain-Barré, cerebral palsy, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, In neurodevelopmental diseases, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette's syndrome, ASD, autism. The allergic diseases, peanut allergies, food allergies, eczema, asthma, anaphylaxis. Where can we find those listed? In two places. One in the list of chronic diseases that are now epidemic among American children, and on the vaccine inserts. And why would the company put them on the vaccine insert? They put them there because the only way you can sue them under VICA is if they know or suspect of an injury that's being caused by their product and they fail to put it on the insert. So it's the one place where they're honest. For many years they've told us, well, just because we put it on the insert doesn't mean that it's actually a vaccine adverse event. It's caused by the vaccines. But the Code of Federal Regulations says you cannot put it on an insert unless you believe that it's caused by the vaccines. So they're lying, and all of these legislatures in here, we went office to office, and we talked to every single one of them. And they know what they're doing. Because we exhausted them. We went in and we answered every question. We answered all the lies that Richard Penn has told them. We answered and we showed them in black and white. That's not true. There are no grandfathering of medical exemptions. This state is doing something horrendous. It is stepping between a doctor and the 4,000 children in this state whose doctors have told them you cannot afford to get a vaccine because it could kill you or it could cripple you. Their doctor, who's known that child oftentimes since birth, who has reviewed their medical records, who has done all of the tests on that baby, who knows the family, has said it is dangerous for you to receive this product. Don't ever do it. And yet, the state of California is going to come in and step a bureaucrat between that doctor and that child and say, we're going to give it to him anyway. This is criminal.
Criminals!
Blood on their hands!
For many years, I spent my life working on environmental issues. One of the things that I knew about the environment is that it was a war between large corporations who are trying to treat our planet as if it were a business in liquidation, convert our natural resources to cash, have a few years of pollution-based prosperity for themselves, and our children are going to have to pay for their joyride with denuded landscapes, poor health, huge cleanup costs that are going to amplify over time and they'll never be able to pay. That was my life's battle, because these were corporations that were commoditizing our landscapes. The landscapes that are the Purple Mountains majesties of these countries that enrich our children spiritually, culturally, economically, and their health. And when I got sucked into this issue, I saw something 100 times worse. Not just oil companies trying to pave and commoditize our landscape, but big pharmaceutical companies, the most evil companies on earth,
Evil!
who are commoditizing our children, who are giving our children this tsunami of chronic disease, and then making the money to try to tell us, well, we're going to get rid of infectious diseases like chicken pox and measles. Oh, we're going to trade that for rheumatoid arthritis and diabetes and autism and ADD and ADHD. And all of those infectious diseases are treatable and curable, usually within a week. And none of the chronic diseases that they are causing are treatable or curable. And they're making $50 billion selling our kids these mandated vaccines that are untested and liability-free, but they're making $500 billion a year selling them the EpiPens, the seizure medications, the Prozac, the albuterol inhalers, the rheumatoid arthritis medications, the diabetes medications that our children are now addicted to for life because of these vaccines. And we went through this with all of these Democratic legislatures. They knew what they were doing. And I'm going to tell you what Henry Stern told me. I said to him, Henry has been, I've known him his entire career. I gave him his first fundraiser. It was all the people in our community who came to that fundraiser and supported him because he made a promise to us. When I called him up 2 months ago and I reminded him of that promise, he said, Bobby, if you insist on doing this, you're not going to have any friends left. I said, I have plenty of friends. I have the good kind of friends. The friends you can rely on in a fight. The friends that you want in a foxhole with you. I don't need those other kind of friends. But when I look at that ballot today, of all the people who voted for this bill, I saw all the Democrats voted for it, even the people who told us they were not going to, who knew what they were doing was wrong. And they did it. Why they did it? They did it because of friendship. Because that's their tribe, and they decided to stick with their tribe rather than sticking with our children. And my question is, why in the world did any of you get into politics if it wasn't about protecting children? Why would you do it? This is the party that's supposed to stand up to big corporations. This is the party that's supposed to stand up to women, for women. This is the party that's supposed to stand up to the bullies. This is the party that's supposed to stand up for freedom of choice. When did it become the enforcement weapon of the pharmaceutical industry in its war against our children? So, I told you, I came here a couple of months ago and spoke on the Capitol steps. I told you something that I learned very early on as an advocate, which is this kind of advocacy, where you're dealing with the inertia, with the momentum of a giant juggernaut corporate structure that is unstoppable, a juggernaut. It's very hard to slow the momentum because they've captured everybody. They've captured our newspapers, our press. Some of it is paid off, but a lot of the media just has appointed itself, self-appointed itself as the guardian, as the gateway to protect the American people from dangerous knowledge. That's not the job of the press. The job of the press is to inform the public. Democracy relies on the free flow of information. When you start censoring information, you better look at whose behalf you're censoring it for. Because that is the tyrant. And that's what they're doing. So this is a juggernaut. They own the press. They own the regulatory agencies. They own our doctors, our pediatricians. They own all of it. They have disabled the courts and the lawyers, the groups that would be on our side, but they've captured every other agency. Well, how do you stop that kind of juggernaut? And it's like stopping a huge oil-filled supertanker. And I've watched these tankers be turned around at New York Harbor. And what happens is they get 4 or 5 tugboats. The tugboats push on the bows. They hit them again and again and again and again. And there's no perceptible movement, sometimes for hours. And suddenly, one of those blows causes it to start turning. and then it flips in a matter of minutes. And all of the work, I don't want any of you to go away today disheartened. We have had loss after loss after loss, and what happens every time we lose? We get stronger. We lost in the Assembly, we lost in the committees. We lost in the Appropriations Committee. We lost in the Health Committee. We lost in the Assembly. We lost in the Senate. And we lost in the Assembly and the Senate again. And what happened? Every time these crowds got bigger and you women got stronger. And I'm telling you, do not despair. We are going to win this battle.